Hello and welcome. Today I'm starting off in Timbuktu, Africa. And, I think it was always a joke. Oh, way out in Timbuktu. And yet, how gorgeous. How amazing is this? This, I believe, is 1958. 1958, which tells me, God, I don't know, it's at least 50 years old. Probably 100 years old. Or I'm saying 100 years before the photograph was taken in 1958, which would put it back to, let's say it was a couple hundred years old in 1958. I mean, that puts us in 1758. Pretty amazing technology here. Spires everywhere, domes. But anyway, let's move on real quick here. Now, this is New Jersey. New Jersey in North America. And they tore this building down. It's called the Marlborough Hotel. And what a fascinating thing, this, you'd expect to find this in India. But again, I believe this is probably the same builders. They tore this building down because it doesn't fit. And this would be screaming all kinds of bells and whistles. But I didn't want to talk about either of these today. I actually wanted to talk about this video put out by Flat Earth British on the Book of Miracles and holographic armies and phantom airships. Just blew me away. I mean, this video is about an hour long and just blew me away, really. And it was more than I could process, really. Just fascinating information. And, I could go about my evening and maybe forget half of it, maybe, more. So I decided to make this video about this video by Flat Earth British, and I'll leave the link below and you can see it right here. And he does an amazing job of leaving all his references and links here. I mean, this is I really think he's more like Flat Earth University. I mean, this is, when I first started, I really started with the New Earth channel, and Sylvie just blew me away with the whole, ancient people and ancient civilizations that were much better than our own, and how they've been buried and covered up, and how there's no interest in researching these topics. And, then the whole flat earth thing, and that blew me away. I mean, there's more facts, and I've seen more evidence. The whole scale and the curvature that they give us doesn't, we can beat that on 150-mile lakes. We can disprove that, that their formula doesn't work. And the whole ancient tree thing, I used to think about that when I was a child, and that is just amazing. It's made me look at mountains differently. But what Martin is doing is the details, I feel like. I mean, just amazing, amazing details for what a lot of this antiquated technology could be. And they're things that we've seen all around, and we didn't think about. We just really didn't think about. And I feel like it was the same thing with the New Earth videos. We saw these things, and we just didn't really think about them, and how, people 1,000 years ago could have built things that we can't even build now. And I've been tempted to call up some construction companies, some, big firms, and ask about building some glorious temple, or trying to be serious and see if anyone can replicate what would be the cost if they would even take the time to give me a bid, but really to see if it's even possible. If anyone would even fess up and say, yes, we could recreate, the Basilica Temple in St. Petersburg. How much would that cost? Can you even do it? But in any case, I really feel like Martin is touching on a lot of these details, and so, like I said, I could go about my evening, or I could make this video and really share and try to highlight real quickly, or whatever it takes, just to keep this information going. I encourage you to watch his video, of course, and I'll leave the link below, and it's going to be much better than anything I can do here, but I just went to his links down here, and I've just opened up a bunch of them, and we're just going to go through a little tour. So it starts out with this book, this Augsburger Wunderscheichen book. Maybe that means book. And just amazing, amazing. And what we see is it's not very it's not very wondrous at all, actually. What I think it's depicting is a pictorial chronology of the last reset, essentially. And real quickly, another thing, I mean, it looks like some kind of a snow or a nuclear winter, but what I noticed with a lot of the older pics and the lithographs and even paintings, I mean, we really don't see snow, until, and I could be wrong, but it seems like snow is not, maybe people weren't taking pictures in the snow, I don't know. But in any case, this is really fascinating. I mean, and I don't read German, but this would be something worth really dissecting. And I think it shows us, it's showing us the ancient world here. And, ancient, I mean, we don't see these. And it's showing us a great world, but at the same time, the demise of it, and how, ironic that it's called the Wonder Book. But it is wonderful, actually. It's wonderful because it actually shows all of these cataclysms, and what in a globe model we might consider, oh yes, these comets. Well, now they don't seem so comet-like. This almost seems like some kind of attack. And this book, amazingly, you could see, actually, now I kind of understand. I used to always think to myself the burning of the books and the burning of, the libraries of Alexandria, and I just couldn't conceive, especially at a young age, of course, what were they burning? What's the big deal? What were in those books? And, Martin showcasing these books is a real service to us. I mean, this is why they burned the books. I mean, this is the kind of knowledge that exists. And we've only, we're looking for the story, and so many people are looking for the story now, and I'm just amazed and grateful that this is actually happening, that there is this movement taking place. But here it is. I mean, here's a piece of it, for example. And, it's one thing to just skim the images, but no, I mean, there is knowledge here. And I think we have no rights to say, oh, we don't know. Well, this is a good start right here. And, I think we all owe it to ourselves and each other to dig into this. And so thank you, Martin, for leaving these links. Absolutely amazing. And let's jump on to the next section. This Galica, which I seem to have a hard time navigating, but in any case, let's just look at this picture, which I thought was really interesting. And this almost let me see what we had written here. And I do speak French, but I don't read very well, and you know, it was my first language, but I'm rusty. I haven't spoken. But this is the regeneration of the nation of France in 1789. So that's just really interesting. I mean, like the regeneration, that could be the recreation. I mean, how interesting. And what is going on in the recreation? Well, we see it appears as if this building is crumbling. This grand castle is crumbling, and people are, you know, the recreation seems like the destruction, you know. So we're not really, the recreation is the new creation, I suppose, is what we're living in now, you know. And here what we're seeing, you know, look at the, you know, these people pleading for mercy and chains, and this, you know, representing the old world and maybe the old France right here. And here I thought it was interesting that these godlike creatures are, you know, holding up this book. And let me see if I can zoom in. But in any case, it's not letting me zoom in all the way. But this is raison, which means reason. So, you know, it's almost like, okay, this book of reason, you know, like maybe it's written, but in any case, it's like the rays of influence, you know, this is pre-written, this is almost like destiny, and, you know, shining onto this new, perhaps this is to be, well, you know, this could be the new ruler, you know. And here we see God, Dieu, the nation, la loi, the law, and le roi, the king. And so anyway, really, really interesting. I mean, just, you know, I would love to dig into this a little more and read the details, but we will move on. Now, this was just an ancient book, it appears, from Henry Churchill, and really fascinating. I mean, once again, you know, I feel blessed that you know, we're even able to look at this book. I mean, look how old this is, and really, really fascinating. Let's see, you know, most of it here again is in German. So, you know, all we can do, or unless you speak German, is we have the pictures in the meantime. And really, really fascinating. And this, I'll get to this in a minute when I get to another section. Just, I don't know, this really caught my eye, and then I saw something a little later that I hope I'll get to. And yes, just remember this strange, it'll tie into the balloons that Martin brings up at the latter part of this video. But yeah, in any case, again, an old book depicting the old world. And, you know, I could see why people wanted to burn the old books. And again, is this pure fantasy? I mean, this is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. And I think, again, it's worth combing these books. And, I mean, what's going on here? What's going on with this? What are they depicting here? I mean, are they just... I guess here's my point. And it's not really my whole point, but you can't make this stuff up. I mean, this is just incredible. You could not make this material up. Any of it. It's the most fascinating thing, I think. I mean, look at this. This giant. Is this a giant man? What kind of story would we have here? And even the building is just fascinating. This looks, look how we have an old city back here. Crumbled, but really a beautiful city. Back here, a beautiful city. And yeah, I mean, okay, is this a doll house? No, I don't think so. I mean, they're depicting something. And again, are they making it up? I don't think so. Giant fish the size of ships. And again, look at in these books, we are probably going to get a better historical view, even more so than photographs, because here it is. I mean, it's been drawn, and this book is rare, and we're lucky to have it. And so yeah, I think it's just real precious. Now here are these, kind of ancient ancient airplanes, ancient balloons, and how this is kind of an old technology. But again, I mean, is this completely made up? What a grand imagination, possibly. But again, this if the book is older than our timeline tells us that the Zeppelin and such things were actually created, then there's something there. Then it tells us that it's older and that we were lied to, that this is actually an older technology. And how fascinating. Look at all the variations. And remember how I talked about the weird little thing that I would get to? So here, just this balloon simply caught my attention, and I just felt like it was not too dissimilar from that weird little thing I was showing you earlier. I don't know if you remember. So yeah, super cool. I mean, this might not even exist anymore. From 1640. So, I didn't used to appreciate I appreciated art, of course, but I didn't appreciate it as a historical reference. And, and again, now in these old books, if we're finding old books and old, paintings, fascinating. So let us move on to this mystery airship section, which I thought was really cool. And, I believe in the UFO community we would call this the cigar, if it's what I think. The cigar UFO. This was really cool too. I'll get to this and then I'll get to the final point. So, Martin talks on these leaning towers, and I also saw something with Conspiracy Are Us where he touched on the leaning towers, which I thought was really fascinating. And there was always like a leaning tower right next to a church, a leaning tower right next to a church. And maybe sometimes not a leaning tower, maybe just a tower next to a church with a dome, and there seemed to be a pattern here, the pointy tower and the dome. And it also reminded me of the Tesla, same thing. I mean, if you look at his Wardenclyffe tower, or I think also the one in Colorado Springs, it's the same thing. Tower next to a building. You have to have the tower in the building. And the leaning aspect is really interesting, in how Conspiracy Are Us made it for the first time seem to me as if this was done on purpose, as if there, could be a purpose, the way we might point a satellite dish or whatever dish. But in any case, yeah, here's a bunch of beautiful photos of this leaning tower, and we see the same thing in, I made a video on Bologna, Italy, and the Essanelli Tower. Just amazing, amazing, amazing. And many of these seem to be leaning from a disaster, or were they? Was there another purpose? So towers are a really fascinating thing to explore. I mean, they can say, oh, this is a church, or this is a cathedral, or This is a parliamentary building, but a tower, I mean, there's especially in antiquated times, there's a lot more to it, and this is really exciting. I look forward to exploring the towers a lot more. But finally, I want to move on to the rocket ship, and and we'll just look at it straight on Martin's video here because it just couldn't be any better. And this is just absolutely amazing. And first of all, he talks about how you, first of all, how did you take this picture back when, before there, okay, maybe you could have taken it, let me pause it. Maybe you could have taken it, in one of those blimp things, or in any case, we do have a lot of photos from times that seem to predate the ability to even get up in the air and take those photos. But regardless, that's not even what this part is about. We see this older photo, and he shows us this crafty-like thing. Just a fascinating, crafty type thing. And it really reminds me of the movie The Fifth Element with, I forget who it was, Bruce Willis. Great movie, entertaining, And at one point he goes to his window, it's the future, and actually this thing rolls up. What looks like a floating, flying mobile concession stand in the movie, at least. And it was, it rolls up and Bruce Willis orders a soup, I believe, and then it just moves on. And it was just a very normal thing. And was that some kind of a Hollywood disclosure thing? Really? And I thought it was kind of silly but amusing. But when I saw this, it's immediately what I thought of. So let's just go ahead and look at it. And we'll see what he shows us here. Just really amazing. Look at this thing. Let me just pause it here. I mean, what? And I wish I could show you the Fifth Element one, but this is different. I mean, this is a little different, but this is something else. I mean, this is like something like we saw in those older pictures with those weird, all those different types of balloons. And this is like some kind of a ship with, I don't even know. How absolutely fascinating. This is just really exciting. So let's move on. Let's hit play. Here we go again. In Paris now. So let's just pause that. I mean, here we go again. This same, this looks like a different model. This is a different one. But how absolutely amazing. I mean, it seems old, or I don't know. Could this be some kind of time traveling thing? It's just really, it's fascinating to me how, the past is seeming more futuristic anymore than any future that we're talking about on this plane. I mean, we're just dealing with computers and certainly not flying around. I mean, look at this city back here. Look how amazing the city is already with the pointy things everywhere and the bridges. And look at this thing. What's this vessel down here in the river already with the little antennas on it? I mean, the past is just absolutely fascinating, and how what a great blessing, I think, to even be talking about such things. But let's go on. Let's unpause. And this too. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, there's this whole kind of perhaps a flying type of a hoax. And this is clearly a hoaxed photo. I mean, you can see that these shadows don't match up. I mean, they just don't match up. This is not here. And so there's a lot more to explore on this subject. And, personally, I have not delved into this, the flight hoax. But what that kind of reminds me of is the book Dune, and the navigators and the spice, And I don't know, maybe something else is going on with flight. And but in any case, I won't. That's it for now. Like I said, I just wanted to share my thoughts and share these links in Martin's excellent video, which I'll leave the link down below, to Flat Earth British. And yeah, that's it for me for today. Have a blessed day and night, and I'll see you in the next video.